Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. The other night, I went to a concert with Rick Springfield. And you may remember him if you're a child of the 70s from his song Jesse's Girl and Human Touch and a few others. But what was really striking was this. It was an outdoor concert. It was over 100 degrees outside here in Oklahoma City. And yet, here's this guy who, this was his, a concert of his 74th birthday. And yet, he spent an hour performing. His voice never faltered. He is rocking, bouncing all over the stage, being an absolute showman the whole time, and putting on one heck of a great performance. And it just struck me, how many people do you know at 74 are still rocking, being able to bounce around, be able to put out that much energy for an hour? Frankly, it was such an interesting counterpoint because earlier that day I met with a guy who was in rehab hospital, just had hip replacement surgery, and he's exactly the same age, and yet he can barely move. I mean, he's got type 2 diabetes, heart condition, he's got stuff stuck all over him. He's in horrible health. Yet, here's Rick Springfield at 74, still rocking. And here's a clip of it. I mean, it's fascinating to watch. I mean, here's a guy at 74 years old, takes off his shirt, jumping all over the place, and he looks great. What's the difference? Well, one thing is, Rick apparently at some point used to be a vegan, but his friends told him he looked horrible when he was doing that, so he's added meat and stuff back into his diet. But almost all of his meals are home cooked, and he works out every single day. He's got a personal trainer and all that. I mean, it's nice being a rock star, but frankly, this is stuff that any of us can do. We can cook our meals at home. We can eat real food. His wife of 40 years is, apparently a very good cook, and we can work out, and we can keep our health going the whole time, and that's what really kind of makes a difference in this. But that's not exactly all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to kind of use that as the springboard to talk about the differences between chronic and acute diseases, because I use those terms a lot, but they're important to sit down and really make the distinctions very clear. An acute disease is something that comes on suddenly and has a definitive course of action, and it's done. So you go, this is what you should be going to doctors for, because they're really good at it. This is what medicine does best. You show up with an acute asthma attack, heart attack, major cut, broken bones, stuff like that. This is a respiratory infection. These are acute illnesses that need treatment, and they can be treated, and it will end. And that's what an acute illness is, as opposed to a chronic disease. And a chronic disease is one that big medicine does not see anything that can be done about it except mitigated. You just kind of treat the symptoms. So for instance, I just saw a very interesting video with a Yale medical educator who was talking about treating obesity as a chronic illness. And frankly, in many ways, it is a chronic illness, because it creates so many other problems. But the problem is that she treats it like she would an acute disease. She pulls out her prescription pad. See, doctors have really two tools when you really think about it. They have the prescription pad and they have surgery. They're not really into lifestyle. That's not what they do. It's like going to a guy who's carrying a big sledgehammer and say, hey, I want you to make me a house. He can't do it. He's got the wrong tool. He's got a great tool for making small rocks out of big rocks, but he doesn't have the tool to make you a house. This is a problem when you go to doctors trying to get healthy. You're going there with chronic diseases, and frankly, 60% of Americans have some sort of chronic disease that is going to take long-term care. That number is expected to double in the next 10 years, according to the CDC. So we are running into an epidemic of chronic diseases. And when you include things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, chronic heart disease and other stuff, you start to see the flood of diseases and how much it's going to cost in order to treat it. And what's frankly frustrating to me is you're going to the wrong place to treat these type of illnesses, because this is not stuff that you need to be pulling out the prescription pad to take care of. When you look at obesity as a problem, frankly, prescription pads, while they may be able to help mitigate some of it and might be able to help some folks, and I do appreciate the fact that she's trying to treat obesity as a disease and one that needs to be taken care of, but giving somebody a bunch of drugs that are likely to cause a host of side effects is not the best solution. The best solution is to sit down and say, look, here's what your problem is. Your insulin levels are too high because your glucose levels are too high, and if you quit giving your body carbohydrates, this is all going to go down. And you can reverse things like your type 2 diabetes. You can lose the weight. You can take care of these chronic conditions. And frankly, I know this because I had the same thing. I used to weigh 300 pounds. I had, if I wasn't a type 2 diabetic, I certainly was on the road to it. I had high blood pressure, I had, macular degeneration, and all these things were reversed by just changing diet and lifestyle. So frankly, that's the right thing to do. You can go to a doc and they can recommend bariatric surgery as a first-line defense, but why not do it the cheaper and easier way? And when you do that, you can get out of the healthcare system and you don't have to see your doctor for chronic diseases, because look, what are they trying to do? They're trying to treat the symptoms. And as a result, every year you go to the doctor, you just get another medication, and we frankly don't know all the interactions of all those different drugs over time. And they slowly start to lose their effectiveness, and you need more medications. Big Pharma loves it, but it's not doing anything for your health. It isn't going to keep you rocking at 74. So if you want to change all that, you're going to have to look at the lifestyle side. And you have to start looking for people that know what the heck they're talking about on lifestyle, and not go to your doctor, because frankly, they don't have the tools to help you. And most of them don't have the time to really sit down and help you with it either. There's some great resources, but unfortunately, in this fight to get healthy, you're on your own. You got to figure this out for yourself, because your doctor ain't going to do it. The government ain't going to do it. Your insurance company ain't going to do it. Nobody's going to be able to do it but you. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself. On the plus side, we're all alone in this together, and there's some great resources, and you couldn't pick a better time to want to get healthier. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. We try to put out a new video every Tuesday and Thursday. I will talk to you soon.